Right, in this lesson, we are going to answer the question, how can I write and evaluate an expression? To do this, we're going to look at an example situation here. So in this situation, it says a school lunch costs $1.85. Use expressions to solve how much money was collected based on the number of students who bought lunch. So let's say, for example, we had 55 students buy lunch. So we had 55 students. We know that each one paid $1.85, so you're going to be doing 55 times 1.85, and that's going to end up telling us how much money it cost. I want you to practice using calculators because you will get to use them eventually. So with this type of stuff, we're at the point where I'm going to assume you know how to do 55 times $1.85, so you can just use a calculator to figure out that the answer should be $101.75, and that would be money that is collected when 55 lunches are purchased. That'd be your money collected. But this same situation can be applied to, different examples where, maybe the next day 123 students purchased a school lunch. Oops. So you still have the $1.85 times, but this time you're having 123 students purchasing lunch. And so you multiply that out. You can use a calculator. And it's $227.55. So $227.55 was the amount of money collected. What you'd like to notice is that through these situations, you can actually write an expression to evaluate this in any situation. And that expression would be, you have the $1.85. That's what we know, that's our constant. So we have $1.85. And we're going to multiply that by the variable, which we're going to call S. S is the number of students that buy lunch. So $1.85 times S is going to equal M, the amount of money collected. So $1.85 times S. Now, traditionally, algebraically, when we write stuff like this, we don't actually use an X. We know that if I'm writing something as an expression, and I just have like a constant, or it actually is going to be called a coefficient, the number in front of the variable, 185, you just write the S right next to it, that equals M. This right here says 1.85 S. That means you multiply. This means multiply. You multiply 1.85 times whatever S is. In this case, we may not know it, but say I give you another example where I say, there was 32 students. So you do 1.85, and you can, parentheses can also indicate that, times 32. That indicates multiplication. Now I actually would multiply these out, and that would give me M, my answer, the amount of money collected. Here's another situation that would result in a little bit of a different equation. In this situation, you have a skating rink that is $215 for 2 hours for a party. So I'm going to have a party at the skating rink, and I'm going to split that cost up amongst all the people that attend, but I don't know how many people are attending. So let's say 25 people attended. You would have to say $215 divided by, divided by 25, divided by the 25 people that attended. And in this case, again, you can use a calculator to do 215 divided by 25, and it ends up equaling 8.6, which if you turn into money would be $8.60 per person. Notice that the 2 hours really has nothing to do with this currently. Like, we're not even worried about the 2 hours. So then, again, if I said, now, let's say there was 43 people attending. So we're doing 43, and 215 divided by 43. And that's going to equal 5, where that would be, it costs everybody exactly $5 to attend. All right, so now if I said, let's write an expression to show this, so it's basically going to be your constant of $215 divided by the number of people, so we could call this N for number of people, and that's going to equal C, your cost. 215 divided by N is going to equal C. Another way that you might see this written as division can be written as a fraction. 215 over N equals C. So $215 per how many ever people equals C. So if there's one person, that person would have to pay $215, and that would be their cost. Here's another example. In this one, you might have a calling card. Say you have a calling card with 300 minutes on it, right? And then you're going to make a phone call. So you're going to make a phone call, and then you want to know how many minutes you have left. So you would start with your 300, and then you're going to say, okay, I made a phone call. That phone call was 33 minutes. That means I'm going to have 267 minutes left. So in this case, you're like 300, I take away the 33, or maybe that was 57 minutes. Maybe you made a phone call that was 57 minutes. How many minutes do we have left? Okay, it's going to be 243. So ultimately, what you're really doing is 300 minus the minutes, so we'll call this one M, is going to equal your minutes left. So we don't want to call it M, we'll call it L. All right, so 300 minus M equals L, and that's going to be how much you have left. I'm going to quickly just jump straight to some expressions now. Say you have the situation where you have a pencil, and that pencil costs 17 cents, right? And you want to know how much you would spend if you buy P pencils. So P pencils, that's the number of pencils you buy. So P equals number of pencils, 17 cents is the cost of pencils. How much money would it be to buy P pencils? Well, that's going to be 0.17 P. And this would tell you your cost C. You could also have another example where, say you have 4 bins. You want to have the same amount of snacks in each bin. So you have 4 bins, right? You want to put snacks. The snacks would be S. This is the number of snacks. Snacks equals the snacks you have. You want the same amount of snack in each bin, so you're basically saying S divided by 4, which can be written either of these ways. And that's going to equal the amount of snacks in each bin, so that would be the amount of snacks in each bin, and you can call that B. Say you start out with like X dollars, right? You start out with X, and then you earn $20, right? So then you're trying to figure out how much do I currently have? Well, you always say X, whatever I started with, plus 20 would equal what I currently have. So it's just about like very quickly kind of going through and thinking, what did I start with? What did I change that? Did I add, subtract, multiply, or divide? And instead of using numbers, you can just set it up with a letter or a variable that can change depending on what that other number turns out to be. All right, 2 more examples I want to show you. Say, for example, you're asked to find the product. The product of 4 and a number. So the product of 4 and a number would be 4, product would mean times, n for number. Or you could insert any variable you wanted there. So 4 times n, or you could also just write that as 4n. This would be the more conventional way to write it algebraically. 4n would be the product of 4 and a number. All right, and then for this final example, you want to look at something like when you say you have to find the surface area, you're going to get a formula where surface area equals is going to equal, let's say, area equals 4 pi r squared. And this is the case if you're trying to find the surface area of a sphere. So you have a 3-dimensional circle, and if you're trying to find what the actual area around the outside, the actual surface area is, you do 4 pi r squared and figure that out. For this case, I'm going to tell you that we're going to basically evaluate this expression by substituting in 4 would stay 4, and then pi, we're going to use 3.14 as an estimate. And then for the radius I'm going to give you is going to be 1/3. And we're going to put that in parentheses and square the whole thing. You then square 1/3 by multiplying those fractions together, and we do this first because exponents come first in PEMDAS. 1 times 1 is 1, 3 times 3 is 9, so you end up with 1/9. Now at this point, we can multiply these all out because the next operation in order of operations would be multiplication and division, and multiplication is the only thing we have left. So we do 4 times 3.14 times 1/9. You're going to want to convert 1/9 to a decimal, which if you put in a calculator and do 1 divided by 9, you'll get a number that's 0.1111 repeating, which you can just simply round off to 0.11, so we're staying with 2 decimal places here. So then you just do 4 times 3.14 times 0.11. And when you multiply all this together, your calculator should tell you 1.3816. And if you just want to round it off to the nearest thousandths place, the 6 would say round up, so this is about 1.382, and this would be the surface area of a sphere. Would be 1.382, and this is going to end up being, since it's area, it's going to be called square units. Again, this video's focus was all the way back up here, really looking at a lot of different ways to write and evaluate expressions. So hopefully we've looked at how to write, and then looking at the more complicated expressions, how to plug in the numbers we're given and evaluate them.